Welcome back to the Lars Larson Show. You know, athletes are supposed to be the strongest and the fastest. We decide those events based on merit, but have American athletes become tiny, delicate snowflakes ready to melt down at the firing of a starter's pistol? I suppose it's something that I could see happening now. In fact, I think an awful lot of people have seen the sort of karmic justice that appears to have occurred for a number of athletes at the Olympics. Bob Barr wrote about it at Town Hall. He is a good friend of the show, former CIA analyst and former member of Congress. Bob, welcome back to the program.
Thank you very much, Lars. Great to be with you all, as always.
Is it only an accident that seemingly the most patriotic, the most America-loving athletes have done very, very well in general, and that some of the ones who don't seem to have a single good thing to say about the United States of America have not exactly prospered at the Olympics this time?
You know, one could chalk it up to coincidence, but I don't think so. I think the athletes that have pride in what they're doing as Olympic athletes, who have pride in our country, have a completely different outlook and attitude. They are happier. They are competitive. They're not dour and mad like I forget the Rapinoe, the lady soccer player.
Megan Rapinoe,
Yeah, Megan Rapinoe. I mean, a lot of it has to do with attitude, and if you go into something, whether it's an Olympic competition or you go into court like I do as an attorney, attitude can win the day every time, and that's why we're seeing those athletes who have the right attitude with pride and a happy outlook doing far better than those that are very unhappy to be there.
Now, I got to tell you something. I don't watch the Olympics. I mean, in years gone by, I used to watch a lot of the events that interested me, like anybody else. In the later years, I just have lost interest in, and to some extent, they just disappoint me. But when I saw the video of this young lady from Katy, Texas, Tamara Mensah-Stock, and she was wrapped in the American flag. She was talking about her faith in God and how she put it in his hands. And she was talking about how overjoyed she was bubbling over with enthusiasm about how much she loved representing the United States. And it doesn't surprise me. She's from Katy, Texas. I think that's outside of, is it Houston or Dallas? But she's just an all-American all day long. And she did very well. She got gold. And then Megan Rapinoe and others that seem to have a real attitude and seem to think that their job as athletes is to represent other things in politics that have nothing to do with playing soccer or throwing a hammer. And I guess, what's that word the Germans use? Schadenfreude, where you take pleasure in somebody else's misfortune. Bob, I have to confess, I consider myself a good Christian, but I confess I had some schadenfreude when I was looking at some of these anti-American American athletes.
Well, and that's a natural reaction. They sort of, you say they had it coming. And my reaction was the same. And you put your finger in your description of the young lady who won the gold in the wrestling competition. Religion and faith in God has a lot to do with it also. Study after study after study that I've seen tells us that religious people, that is those who go to church and the synagogue, who believe in a higher power and see joy in the world out there and are at peace with their role in it, they excel. And that's, you place your faith in the hands of God, and you believe, and you do what you are called to do, and the results speak for themselves.
Well, and I hope, in a lot of ways, that the anti-American athletes, they'll probably find some corporate sponsorship back here. I'm sure that Rapinoe is going to get plenty of money from Nike and other companies. But this young lady from Katy, Texas, Mensah-Stock, do you know, Bob, what she literally said she's going to do with some of the money that she gets from the win? Because there's some money that comes along with the medal. Do you know what she said?
I don't know, but I can guess that probably help her mom, her parents, her family.
But think about this. She, apparently her mom is an entrepreneur. Her mom wants to have a food truck. I mean, this is basically buying yourself a job, but it's a worthy profession. You're providing food to people who are on construction sites and other places. She wants to take 30 grand and buy her mom a food truck because they said that's been her mom's dream. And imagine this. This is where this young lady came from a family that didn't say, well, I'm hoping to get through life somehow. I have a dream of being an entrepreneur and running my own, small business. I mean, a business that'll fit in a food truck. And she said, I'm going to buy that for my mom so she can realize her dream. That's where athletes like that come from families that believe in the American dream.
And in an age long ago, Lars, that story would not be all that unique. It is tremendous, and it is invigorating to see it today because it has become the exception rather than the rule. And hopefully, through that example and some of the other athletes that we've seen, they will be the ones that set more of an example for our young people than Megan Rapinoe and the others. I don't know whether that'll happen, but it sure was refreshing to see a few of them.
Well, and here's my biggest fear about this, because at the same time I was celebrating, I saw the video, we played the audio last night on the show of this young lady from Katy, Texas, and I thought, I hope she does well. I hope there's some all-American companies that say, we want her as the face of our product or whatever, because we're used to athletes making some money, even if they've been amateurs before, now they can go in and get some sponsorship money and that sort of thing. My fear is that America is becoming so woke, so PC, and so many of the companies out there and individuals are afraid to cross that line because they realize you can get canceled out. You and I have talked about that by companies saying, well, you're not on the right side of this issue. And that I'm fearful that some companies will say, well, we'd put her out as the face of our product, but we don't want to take the chance that we're going to offend some of the powerful forces out there that demand you either adhere to their beliefs and their point of view, or they will cancel you out.
I'm sure that there are some companies, the woke companies out in California and the Nikes, that will take that attitude. But I do think that there are a lot of businesses, the My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell, and others that really do believe in themselves the same way that these athletes do. So I think they'll do very well. And the strange thing about it is I also suspect that if they don't get a whole bunch of offers to make money, I don't think it will bother them that much.
Isn't that the truth? Because you mentioned Mike Lindell. He's been on the show so many times. He's a great success story, and he had failure in his life. He was a drug addict by his own account, and then he builds a company that employs thousands of Americans, makes a lot of money, but they have been trying everything that meaning the other side, the woke, the PC crowd, has been doing everything it can to try to destroy him, get him pulled from store shelves and everything else. He's big enough that he can afford the losses, I guess, although I hate to see him take those losses. I worry that, somebody who's brand new, like the young lady wrestler from Katy, Texas, that she may take those hits hard, although, as you say, if she comes back and doesn't make a lot of money, she's got that gold medal hanging on the family mantle, and mom has a food truck, and she's happy, and she seems like a happy individual.
And she has faith in the Lord, and that will get you through the hard times as well as the happy times. And I think she'll do just fine.
Bob, you've got some friends in academics down south. You know what I think would be interesting? It'd be interesting to find out how many people how the win-loss record of people of faith in professional or in Olympic athletes go. I have a feeling there's a pattern there as well.
I suspect that there is, and I'll kind of keep an eye out for that kind of study because I'd like to see that as well.
Wouldn't that be great?
About that in the future.
Get some kid at a university who wants to do all the legwork of finding out about people's faith, and then say, now, is there a relationship between a relationship with God and a relationship with crossing the finish line first? And if he wrote that study, can you imagine how many of the people in academia would get just their heads would spin? That's Bob Barr, who's a former member of Congress and a good friend of the show.